Where do taxi drivers go when they need to buy a taxi? Well, the Taxi Centre have supplied cars to the trade for over 20 years, and they stock a huge range of motors from the world's leading manufacturers: Skoda, Kia, Toyota, Mercedes, Nissan, Ford, Hyundai, you name it. They've got saloons, MPVs, estates, minibuses, prestige cars, the lot, all under one roof, ready for immediate collection or free delivery anywhere on the mainland UK. With taxi trade exclusive discounts, flexible finance options and no hidden fees. They even throw in registration and 12 months road tax. So if you're a taxi driver who needs a new or used taxi, where would you go? TheTaxiCentre.com. Trade only.
The Go Radio Football Show with the Taxi Centre. Listen anytime, wherever you get your podcasts. Call now and voice your opinion. 0808 17 17 700.
Let's go! Very happy New Year to you from me, Paul Cooney, and in the studio with me, the Australian star, Craig Moore. Craig, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Paul. Happy New Year, listeners. Ready to go again for another great year.
You're looking pretty good on it. You obviously didn't party like it was 1999.
Oh, I'll tell you what, get older, the partying is less and less. But I'll tell you what, still had a really nice time with family and friends to see the new year in, and really excited about what this year can bring.
Well, good luck to everyone. Thanks for tuning in throughout 2021 and with us here in 2022. So the big headline tonight: Nathan Patterson is on Merseyside, the Rangers fullback. Yeah, he is still a Rangers fullback at the moment. He's had his medical this afternoon ahead of a £16 million move to Everton. Let's get the very latest. Craig, you've been on the phone. What is the situation?
Yeah, look, we're first and foremost, as you touch on, subject to medical. So we're thinking within the next 24, 48 hours there'll be something announced. It seems to be fantastic business from Rangers to potentially get up to £16 million for a promising player who hasn't played a lot of football for Glasgow Rangers. Now gets that opportunity, Paul, to go and really test himself down in the English Premiership if all things go through. And look, a wonderful opportunity for the boy, because Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did try to fit him in as a left fullback. It didn't work. He's a serious player, senior internationalist. Great opportunity for Nathan Patterson.
But he just wasn't getting the game time under the manager, and it was almost inevitable that he would go. Good business by Rangers. So here's what we do know: the deal will be up to 16 million if it all happens with all the add-ons.
Yes.
You're going to tell us a bit more about how it's structured. It's not done yet, but it will be.
Yep.
And there's huge optimism on both sides, all sides, Rangers, Everton and Nathan Patterson himself, that it will happen. How is the deal structured? What do you think? How much up front?
Well, the talk is that it's between £9 or £10 million up front, which is fantastic for Rangers. It puts them then in a really, really good position if they want to strengthen, to be able to say to Giovanni, yep, here is some money to go and add to the squad. There's also some performance-based bonuses that are structured within that contract, Paul, that should see that climb up to 16 million if Nathan goes on and does what we'd all expect in terms of playing regular for Everton. And then Rangers have also got the opportunity for a sell-on, which again, it would be based on how he does. In terms of transfers out of Rangers, this would go down as a record breaker. It would be the biggest that there has been. Prior to that, you've had 8 to 9 million, the likes of Alan Hutton, Jean-Alain Boumsong.
Yeah. You played alongside both?
Both. Yeah. Hutton was a little bit younger, but seen him coming through. Carlos Quella and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst himself, the manager.
8 million, but that was in 2001, so it's 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago.
Yes.
It's a big time for Ross Wilson, isn't it? Because he hasn't traded a player yet, but it looks as though he's now traded somebody and they've got a lot of money in. And people say, oh no, we don't need to sell or whatever. But this is the model for Rangers, for Celtic, and actually most clubs.
Yeah, and look, this is something that probably about 12 to 18 months ago, Stuart Robertson at Rangers come out and explained that, there needs to be this business model in terms of being able to sell your players at the right price, the high price, to then be able to go and strengthen again. Nathan Patterson potentially is probably that first real test in terms of seeing that happen. But I'm sure over the next 2 to 5 years, you're going to see that more often within Rangers, but also other clubs. In Scotland, it's about getting the player at the right price and then being able to maximise that to move him on elsewhere.
Of course, he's become he's the first choice Scotland fullback, isn't he?
Yeah.
You'd agree?
Yes.
So it's going to be difficult to keep him out of the team.
Yeah.
But the captain, James Tavernier, I mean, I know he's had his ups and downs, but last year he was absolutely immense for Rangers.
Yeah.
And he wasn't going to displace him, not anytime soon.
No, again, you look at Tavernier. You touch on it. He's the captain. He leads by example. He gives his all. Look, like a lot of players in terms of the first part of the season, I think chopping and changing the starting 11, I think had an influence on all players in terms of them not being able to bring their best. But he has still stepped up with those big moments, and clearly Nathan Patterson was not going to nudge him out of that starting right fullback position. So this deal that we're discussing to Everton certainly makes, I think, a great deal of sense for all parties.
We spoke to GVB last week just before it all shut down for the winter break. Remember, we'll be back on January the 17th.
Yes.
First game will be Celtic against Hibs. Everyone will be back, and we hope the fans will be back too. We'll talk about that during the next hour, Paul Cooney and Craig Moore. But GVB was speaking about the transfer window and how busy it would be.
Well, we always anticipate. That's the most important thing. If it eventually will be a busy transfer window, I don't know yet. But we are well prepared, and we have to wait and see what the transfer window will bring for us.
Well, the transfer window will shut in 28 days, 5 hours and 50 minutes. Yep, Sky's on in the background. But so Rangers fans, what do you think? 08, 08, 17, 17, 700. Are you going to miss Nathan Patterson? Is it potential that would have been seen in the coming years? Or, are you weakened by not having him? Craig, I put that to you. Is this a good move or a blunder?
No, I think it's a great move for the player. I think business-wise, it's a great move for Rangers Football Club. Do they leave themselves light in terms of the one right fullback? Balogun is the only one that's probably been shifted into that position, and he's been out injured. So it gives Giovanni the opportunity to potentially strengthen that in that area, or look at another academy prospect.
And it's a chance for someone else to come through. It's great money, isn't it? So overall, you reckon the deal will be about 10 million up front, 9 or 10? 10
million, you're hearing 10 million up front with add-ons that could take that right up to 16 million, which for me is incredible business. When you start getting 10 plus for the players up here in Scotland, it shows that you're doing the right things.
But he's leaving Rangers top of the table, so 6 points ahead of Celtic.
Yep.
And going to Everton, who are in turmoil. Rafa's never really been accepted by the fans because of he's a Liverpool legend. So he's crossed Stanley Park.
Yeah.
They're in a really bad run.
Yeah.
Mashiri, the main owner, seems to be behind him.
Yeah.
But it's tricky days for Everton. And this weekend they've got a tough tie in the Cup.
Against Hull
City.
I believe. Yeah. Look, it's just as you were talking there, I think a funny situation. You had Nathan Patterson here who couldn't get a start behind captain Tavernier. He's gone to Everton.
Yeah.
And the right fullback is the captain, Coleman.
Yeah.
So but I think that he's going to get those opportunities to play. Coleman's been a great player for Everton, but has been in and out due to injuries. A fantastic move for everybody. But there's been a lot of clubs, and we'll go into the Celtic situation as well, who have been very active very early in the transfer market. We
will indeed. That's Craig Moore directing the show tonight as well, keeping us right on top of it. 08, 08, 17, 17, 700. Rangers fans, what do you think? I think there was an inevitability about it. He hasn't actually gone yet, but Nathan Patterson is on Merseyside. He's had the medical today, the first part of it, and then the next day or two, it will be signed, sealed, delivered, and he'll be theirs.
Yeah.
Yep. So for Celtic fans, over the last few days, Celtic haven't wasted any time at all. In fact, in Hogmanay, we heard the deal started. So it's the trio of Japanese stars: Maeda, the striker, Hatate, the left defender, left fullback, and Ideguchi, who wants to be known as Gucci, versatile midfielder. Where will we start? What about Maeda, who's played under a great friend of yours, the ex-Rangers player Kevin Muscat? Yeah, he has, and also under current Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou. So this is a player that Ange will know very well. Maeda was joint top goal scorer in the J-League this season, 22 goals, I believe. He is an absolute flying machine. He has blistering pace. This is a player that's definitely going to stretch opponents. He's excited, obviously, with Kyogo. I think for all these Japanese players, with Kyogo setting the benchmark and coming in, all the players that have signed are really excited. Really excited to come and share that journey with Kyogo and look to try and bring more trophies, I guess, to Celtic Football Club. But his pace
He's pace. Hatate, you touch on in terms of he's a versatile left-sided player. He looks as if he might be the choice of left fullback, Paul. Because I know you got Taylor who's been in and out with injury, but that might be the left fullback position for Hatate. And Gucci, as he wants to be called, has real flexibility in the middle of the park, midfield areas, which gives you a great deal of choice for Ange Postecoglou.
And everyone wants to follow what Kyogo Furuhashi has done. Is it possible? What's the likelihood of any of the three of them hitting the ground the way that Kyogo has? Because he's arguably the outstanding player of the season so far.
Incredible the way that he's come to Scotland, hit the ground running, played the game with a smile on his face, scored goals, which is what he needs to do as a striker. But look, these players will have the perfect opportunity to come and make exactly the same impact. And the reason why I say that is because they have a season behind them. In terms of their season is calendar year. They've had a 2 or 3 week freshen up. They've had 30 games under their belt already. So they're going to go into the back half of the Scottish season in a really, really good order. Some good residual fitness that puts them in a good position to start well.
Celtic fans, what do you reckon then? You've got the three Japanese. Would you be worried? Because Craig, you spent your life playing much of it at Rangers. You were Newcastle, München, Gladbach, etc. But you spent a lot of time in the aircraft, in the 747, going down to Australia and beyond. So what do you feel for the Japanese players if they're all in action?
In terms of the international stuff, we've got the international window, and Japan are in the same group as Australia. It is a lot of travel. It is a big trip. But nowadays, it's not a huge concern to me, because the players will travel. They travel in the right manner. They'll get their treatment. They'll make sure they've got the right medication so that they're sleeping at the right times. They're wearing their skins. They're well looked after. And when they turn up, whatever they may turn up, Paul, they're ready to go.
They're not at the back of the aircraft. That's what you're telling me.
They're definitely not at the back of the bus.
Been a long time since you were at the back of the bus as well. Craig Moore played so many times for Rangers and Australia. Ange Postecoglou, we talked about him last week. I heard you and Rob the other night. I heard your team of the season so far. For Ange Postecoglou, it could hardly have gone better for him, really, couldn't it? Given the shambles he inherited in the summer. So and still challenging Rangers. It wouldn't want to be 6 points behind, but that has happened. A couple of draws there where they would have been expected to win. But the one trophy up for grabs has got the green and white ribbons on it. Yeah,
so you've got to be extremely impressed with the start that Ange Postecoglou has made. To come in and have to make the amount of changes that was needed. You're talking, 12 to 15 changes to make those changes, for those players to gel as quickly as what they have done and to win the first trophy of the season. You've got to say that Ange Postecoglou has done an extremely good job. People thought that he was left field, and what does he know about Scottish football? Sometimes you can be clouded by that. He's come in and done a fantastic job, and I think has been. People have taken to him well. The media love him. He's very direct. He gives you answers. He gives you that growl, and he'll use that mate terminology to his advantage. But no, he's done well, Paul.
Did you hear him having a real go at you? Did he ever really have a go at you?
Well, we kind of had a falling out when we first met, because when he went to Brisbane, I was a little bit older and felt as if I knew it all, Paul, to be honest with you. He come in and wanted to make his changes, and I was, at that stage where I was coming to the end of my career. So our initial meeting was not a fantastic one, but we worked together with the national team, because he then got the national team job. I'd reached out to him. We got on extremely well because we're both passionate and we both want to see football played in the right manner and people make the most of their opportunities. Well, sadly, there are no supporters at the moment. There could have been 500, but when you look at it in England, and I know there's controversy today, look at the darts final, the semi-finals, the quarter-finals, is it £3,000? 3,000 fans are there a day. Yeah. So Leicester, a bit of controversy because Maddison, Chowdhury and Barnes were all there yesterday. And 18 games have been called off in England, but at least it's still going ahead. Thousands of people. You watched Chelsea-Liverpool last night. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's difficult, isn't it? I'm hoping people get boosted, and I think we got to 80%, got the third jab that was offered, certainly, by New Year, that people get it and we continue with life. And that for me is a very clear message. Continue with life, get your vaccinations. If you're going to be out and about, get that done. And we want to see fans. We want to see lots of fans. We want to see full stadiums. We're seeing it in England. We want to see that in Scotland as well.
We sure do. I do love this comment from Ange Postecoglou when he said about supporters. What, no supporters?
I don't like it. Like I said, I'm super happy with the way the boys went about it today, but did I enjoy the game? No. Like I said, I had a season of it in Japan, and I just don't think it's the same game. It's this, we all need to realise that it's the supporters, that make the game. They're the ones that create the atmosphere, that make those special moments, and I don't think it'd be any one player or anyone, any manager who enjoy playing in an atmosphere like this.
And deep down, Craig, that's what most people think, isn't it? Let's get the fans in.
Yeah, and look, that is the most important thing. I think a lot of the time we don't recognise the supporters. In terms of the investment that they make into their football club, the traditions and cultures, and it's gone through 2, 3, 4, 5 different family members. It's brilliant. They make our game.
You're keeping one eye on the telly, where in 10 minutes it's going to be Manchester United against Wolves. Wolves hard to beat. Man United, are they going to be top 4 even? They were one of your title contenders, weren't they?
Yeah, they've let me down. Look,
it's not going to happen, is it?
It's definitely not going to happen. The changes that come in, Ralph Rangnick coming in, we've not seen an immediate response. But I still think they can be like top 4, and but Man City at the moment.
Can anyone catch them now?
No, I don't think so. I think they're just an absolute machine. Doesn't matter what players go out and play for them. They're exceptional, and that's without a main centre forward.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's amazing, isn't it? But they must have enjoyed the game at Stamford Bridge yesterday. Liverpool 2 up. Not so good for them, because Liverpool probably the closest to them. Up against Chelsea, and ends up 2-2.
Yeah, and this was an incredible game of football, wasn't it? I mean, Liverpool, as we expect, we see them so quickly out of the traps, and they go into what looked like going to be a comfortable performance match for them, 2-0 up, but credit to Chelsea, Tuchel, who left out Lukaku. Big noise, and left him out of the squad. Big
meeting today between the two. So he trained this morning. That is the news. I was listening to Jim and Simon and Talk Sport. They trained and they had a meeting afterwards, but we haven't heard the outcome of Tuchel, and I almost said versus Lukaku. But it was a strange thing for him to talk about. I mean, I get it. They was playing to the Italian media. It was Sky Italy. And I'd love to be there at some point, but it did seem a bit disrespectful given that they paid £97.5 million.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money. But what we did see from Chelsea is we seen a fight back, didn't we? We've seen a fantastic goal. I mean, a really incredible goal from Kovacic. Technique, oh my word. And Pulisic as well, who gets in. So, look, wonderful game, but Man City are right. Without kicking a ball, sat there very, very happy with that result.
Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich and Juventus today open talks with Antonio Rudiger's representatives. So, pre-contract it would be, because he's out of contract in the summer. Wow, that could be one of the biggest ever. We've got Nathan Patterson, who will be Rangers' biggest ever sale. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, because it will be. Before, it was about 9 million, 10 million for Alan Hutton. I wonder who's going to be the biggest transfer in the window here.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. I'm waiting to see the activity that's going to go on at Newcastle. We know that they're definitely, the money is there. They're in a position where they want to strengthen. Probably the latest name that we're hearing is Trippier from Atletico Madrid, who possibly has a buyout of 31 million pound.
That's loose change for the Saudis, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what he brings in. But I think there's going to be certainly a lot of strengthening to do at Newcastle. Keep your eyes out for that.
Craig Moore, Paul Cooney, we've been hitting the phones this afternoon, finding out what's happening. We've got more news for Celtic fans. A player that I'm sure you would love to sign. Talks have been going on today with Benfica about Jota. So we're going to bring you more on that shortly. Hibs are also interested in a Celtic player who's been out on loan, Ewan Henderson. Tell you more about that. And also Hibs are after someone else at Ross County who's on loan. There's a lot on the go today, but that main headline, Nathan Patterson, he went down to Merseyside. First part of the medical has happened, and all sides saying it's not done yet, but it will be, and there's huge optimism it is going to happen. Are you optimistic about it, Rangers fans? What do you feel? It's inevitable almost, but what do you think? 0808 17 17 700. Back in a moment.
The Go Radio Football Show with thetaxicentre.com. Delivering cars to taxi drivers in Scotland for over 20 years.
And that's you right up to date there with the traffic and travel. Paul Cooney with Craig Moore on the Go Radio Football Show with the Taxi Centre. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks to Joe Kilday, who was on earlier this afternoon. And thanks to everyone making the switch. We're on from 5 every night. Well, a busy night here in football. Nathan Patterson down south, ready to sign for Everton. The deal is almost there. Not quite done, but it will be the biggest sale in the history of Rangers Football Club.
Yeah, and it'd be an amazing move for the player who hasn't been able to get that starting position that he's desperately been looking for. So in the end, this seems like most definitely will be the right move for player, but also, you know, a great bit of business for Rangers to potentially, you know, get the £10 million that they're talking up front, walking up to 16 million. Fantastic business.
Who's next? Will there be any more? GVB did say last week they might not sell or buy during the window, but now that Nathan Patterson is about to go, do you think they're going to...
Sometimes you get a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do. Yeah, look, I mean, the only other player that... I mean, there's been speculation with Aribo, you know, possible links and interest from Southampton down in the Premier League. You can understand why that interest would come about because Aribo's been
outstanding. Yeah,
he's been Rangers' best, no doubt about that. And there's also been speculation about Barisic, who, you know, has had an okay season. He's been linked continually to clubs down south as well. And that would be a similar position for me, Paul, in terms of that Rangers then would need to go. They've got Bassi that can go to left fullback, no problem at all, but would need to look to strengthen in terms of who's that next left fullback that can have that two for every position scenario.
Conor Golson, do you think he'll go? I know that wouldn't be big money because he's almost his contract doesn't get that long to go, but he hasn't signed a new deal. Do you think he is going to go? I
think the longer this plays out, I mean, I can actually see Conor Golson committing to a new contract at Rangers. If you ask me, you know, 6 weeks ago, I go, no, he's probably going to see his contract out and try and see if there's better out there. I just feel as if what Giovanni's doing, there's been buy-in from the whole group. I think that Golson will definitely want to be a part of something, but Rangers will want to try and get that business done sooner rather than later.
I'll ask you more about Rangers shortly. What about Celtic then? So Celtic have been in talks today with Benfica, who've just had a change of manager, haven't they? He's just gone to secure the signing of Jota. Now, we mentioned Kyogo, but when Jota, just before he got that injury, he was almost overtaking Kyogo. He was on great form, Jota. He'll be back in the new year. Well, we're into the new year now. What about Jota? What's the price going to be?
Well, the talk is 6.5 million. That was the clause that was in terms of the option, the loan option plus buy. Jota's been fantastic. He really has. He's you know, the way he gets at his fullbacks, he's got that final pass which you've seen in the European football, the ball for Kyogo, and he's got the goals. He's unfortunate that he picked up that injury. Positive news for Celtic is that although there has been that managerial change with Benfica, talks have been ongoing between both clubs, so that looks as if it's something that's going to happen as well.
I mean, 6.5 million.
Big money.
Yeah, I was going to put it the other way. Well, is that not a steal for somebody who, if it goes well for a couple of years with Celtic, they could well sell him on for much more? Yeah,
no, I agree with you. But in terms of the Scottish market, 6.5 million, when you start spending that kind of money, I mean, Julian, I think, was 7 million. It's big money for Scotland. But you're right, this player has the potential that within 2 years you could flip him. I'm not talking about picking him up and flipping him, but you can flip him for double that. 15, 16, 20 million. So it would be really good business for Celtic because he has been in fantastic form. Hopefully for him and for the football club, he's not out too long with a hamstring injury.
How good do you think Jota could become? I mean, could he make it then in England or back in Benfica?
He can. The thing that I thought was going to be a challenge for him was the physicality. But I think that he's adapted really well. I'm sure he's improved in that area. You know, he has that ability to repeat efforts in terms of the speed. It stays at a decent level for the whole 90 minutes. He gets goals. He has that ability to go by defenders and play that clever pass, like I said. But physically, you need to be able to match. And he's shown that not only can he do that, he can push people out of the way, so he's got a big future.
Go Radio Football Show with the Taxi Centre. Paul Cooney with Craig Moore. And quite a lot on the go today. So we mentioned Jota, we gave you the latest on Nathan Patterson, Maeda, Hatate and Ideguchi, here on known as Gucci just wants to be. We'll have to watch him Watch.
Yeah, watch.
Gucci.
Good. Like that.
Yep.
Like that. But, you want to be called Gucci, he must have a little bit about him.
Indeed.
Yeah, he must have a bit of confidence. And hopefully, like I said, he hits the ground running. All these Japanese players, one thing I can guarantee you, technically will be very, very good. Because the way that they're brought up, the way that they're educated, will all be very, very good on the ball.
Celtic need a striker because obviously Kyogo, they can't just rely on him. A Yeti, I mean, what else can you say about a Yeti? It hasn't worked out. And Giakoumakis is the great unknown, isn't he? He's still injured. Yeah,
has been. Well, one thing that we do know about Maeda is he's quick. He is a striker that can play all the areas up top, and he's a flying machine. More importantly, scores goals. Scored 22, joint top goal scorer of the J League. So you talk about what if Kyogo's not playing? Where are my goals going to come from? Maeda will give you goals.
Ex-Celtic goalkeeper signed another 2-year deal the other day, pretty much on his 39th birthday. You know who I'm speaking about, Craig Gordon. I mean, he was the one that got away for Celtic. But for Hearts, what a find. But his deal was only up until the end of this season, so I know there was some interest from the Championship. And I'll tell you what, that got them sorting out the contract. You're pleased for him, aren't you?
Absolutely delighted. You look at his form this season, it's been incredible. The way he carries himself, the way he looks after himself. At 39 years of age to then sign a new 2.5-year contract takes him into his 40s. But what I love...
Well worked out. Thank you, Craig. You don't miss much, do you?
No, just a couple of years. But what I love about Craig Gordon is he's at halfway stage, he's definitely my goalkeeper of the season. There's no doubt about that. But when he makes those big saves, it's like that striker that scores a goal. You see him celebrate how much it means to him, and I think that just flows through his team, and he's been a huge bonus for Hearts this season.
A young player, he's only 21, he's not 22 until March, is Ewan Henderson, Celtic defender, who he's been on loan at Alloa with Barry Ferguson. So, Hibs interested, Sean Maloney.
Well, again, there's a Celtic connection there. So, in terms of the intel, he would have known. I mean, Sean Maloney would know exactly what he's getting into if that possibility was to go through. Ewan Henderson, look, I've seen bits and pieces of. He's got his fair share of goals, actually. I think he scored a few goals for Alloa, done a decent job. So it'd be interesting to see these younger players. Like I says, it's about that opportunity. It's about playing. It's about playing regular. But Ewan Henderson, if he gets that opportunity, Hibs are an interesting one in terms of Maloney. He's come in. He's had a couple of great results. What are they going to look like moving forward? I think he'll do really well. Yeah,
he's a good midfielder, and we wish him all the best, because Celtic have been strong in the midfield, haven't they? Christie's gone now, but with McGregor. I mean, Sora's another one though that hasn't really happened for him. Turnbull, we hope, will be back. Well, he's out now. He's not. We're not going to see him in January, I don't think. David. I think
if the players that you're mentioning there, if anybody was going to be allowed to possibly go out on loan, you would say it would be Soro.
Yeah.
He did come into the team last season at the same time as Turnbull, and they actually done really, really well.
You liked the look of him, didn't you?
Yeah, I think at that stage he'd done well, because Celtic were a little bit out of sorts, and I think Soto and Turnbull come in and really lifted Celtic. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to kick on this season. But you've also got McCarthy that's not really kicked on, has he? Rogic has been immense, Turnbull's been immense, McGregor's been fantastic, and now when you bring in potentially Iraguchi in the midfield, they're well covered in the central area.
They certainly are. Callum McGregor, he was in your team the other night. Yeah. Arguably the most consistent player, certainly the most consistent Celtic player this season. Again, would that be fair?
Yeah, I think it is fair. I think when you look at someone who is reliable, who is going to be a 7 or 8 every single week, every single match, he's your man. The armband. In terms of captaining, being the captain now of the football club, it's a huge honour for himself, obviously, in terms of the way he feels about the football club, the length of time he's been at the football club. But he seems to be that one player that can really get the team going. That one tackle, that one pass, that one goal that all of a sudden just lifts that crowd. He's been enormous.
Of course, there are two Ewan Hendersons, and the one that Hibs are interested in is the Celtic one, because the other one at Alloa is
an attacking
a different
player?
one. Exactly. Yeah. So just different things dropping at the moment, so we're just bringing them to you. There's a lot on the go. It's transfer window time, and every night we'll be on 5 till 6 until... Well, it's just 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
The season will start again.
Yes.
Hopefully with the fans back. Fingers crossed for that. Down south, let's see what's happening. Man United up against Wolves in a bit of the team news. So Scott McTominay is in there, and Ronaldo's going to play tonight because there's been a bit of controversy that they've not been playing brilliantly, but they're not losing under Ralph Rangnick, but they're not setting the heather on fire.
No, and look, I guess as a Man United, if you're a Manchester United supporter, you want to be entertained. That's what you've been used to seeing over the years. But I think the pleasing thing for people here in Scotland, McTominay getting his start again. And you touch on Ronaldo, but he's also partnered by Edison Cavani up top as well. So there's certainly a lot of experience up top for Manchester United. Two quality players, but I think going two up top is going to be useful for Manchester United going forward in this short period of time.
There's so much expectation on the shoulders of that team because they're packed with talent. You're just looking at a former Scotland captain there sitting next to Ralph Rangnick.
That's right, Darren Fletcher there, who's in the ear of Ralph Rangnick. So it's good to see him involved at that top level. Again, we know how important he was for Manchester United through their top years.
What a career.
Yeah. Top player, done a great job. So again, another Scotsman heavily involved with Manchester United.
Who's going to win tonight then? Wolves have come to town. They don't concede too many goals up against Man United, who really need the win. What's going to happen? What do you think, Craig?
I think this is going to be, you're right, you touch on Wolves don't score many goals, do they? But they hang into games, they make it competitive. But I think Man United will win this 2-0 tonight. And can anyone catch Manchester City? We touched on it earlier, but when you think about it, I mean, Chelsea are just not getting the wins just now. Liverpool. Yeah, it's hard. I heard a crazy stat.
What was the stat?
The crazy stat was that something like 17 times that Man City, in terms of the games they've played, they've never gone behind. They win those games. Liverpool's stat was that when they've gone behind 12 times or something like that, and come over the top. And basically they're 5 short of Manchester City in terms of what were winning positions for them when they won the league. To now Man City, they just seem to be just grinding out result after result after result.
And they keep possession so well, don't they? So they make it tough for the opposition. There's been so much controversy in England about games every 48 hours during the Boxing Day period into the new year, but they play with such composure. They keep the ball so well. They must make it hard to play against.
It's incredible when you watch Man City and the way that they dominate and control a game of football. And then I look at the central defenders and they're not on the halfway line. They're like deep in the opponent's half and all that sort of stuff. So already when the ball's breaking, they just suffocate you to death. Such dominance that they have, and it doesn't matter what starting 11's available to them because every player that they bring in is just the highest level of quality. So I can't see them losing the title.
Do you think there was too much chat about players being so tired in England? Because, I mean, they didn't look tired. Chelsea, Liverpool, both. I mean, Liverpool went down to 10 men with Mane going off. But they didn't look tired, either of them, last night.
And especially down south, the squads are that deep. You're talking 35, 40 players. So they play a lot of games. Yes, the tempo and the intensity of the game, obviously, over the years has increased. But they're fine. They're fine. The managers always seem to find an opportunity, unless it's a cup competition, to field their strongest possible players. The top players, talking about Ronaldo, he's knocked out 60 games a year for the last 10 years. No problem.
Incredible, isn't it? The fitness of him. Incredible.
Just like he's 36 years of age and physically in unbelievable condition. They're professionals. They should be able to play 60 games a season.
A few other things we want to ask you about in the next section. Tony Watt, we know he's going to Dundee United, but they still haven't done the deal to bring him early. Pre-contract looks to have been done. Tony Watt, and it could be a player exchange as well, so that the money will be done, but also they could give them a couple of players. And Dundee United, I'm going to ask you about that, look as though they could do with some players, because when you look at their record, they had a really good start to the season, and we know that they took the scalp of the champions, Rangers,
second day of the season,
but they're finding it tough just now. Who is going to go down? And also we'll give you the latest on the Nathan Patterson move, which looks to be getting closer every moment. That's coming up next.
The Go Radio Football Show with thetaxicentre.com. Your exclusive taxi trade savings are waiting on you.
Let's go. On Go.
Let's go.
Go Radio Football Show. It's the New Year's edition here, January the 3rd, the holiday in Scotland, and a holiday tomorrow as well, but this time tomorrow night it'll be Stephen Craigan, the Northern Ireland, the former international, the Motherwell defender, and well, he's on everything. He'll be here with Rob McLean, number one commentator in Scotland. I still believe that, Craig. Rob's our number one.
Number one, yeah.
How many times can we say number one?
Well, number one.
But,
yeah, let him think he's number one.
No, he is, isn't he? Man United 0, Wolves 0. That's the story so far there. Earlier today, Reading and Derby drew 2-2, and Preston a 2-1 win for them against Stoke City. Those were the headlines down south. There was the meeting face to face with Romelu Lukaku and his manager Thomas Tuchel. I wish I'd been a fly on the wall on that one after training, but surely it'll be sorted, because the fans will forgive him as soon as he goes out and bangs a couple of goals in for them.
Well, that's what he needs to do. That's what they signed him for. They spent a lot of money, as you mentioned, 90 odd million.
97.5.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you know what? International break, or around about that time, when they tend to go back and they speak to different journos, there's always a story that comes out. But this was a strong story. So,
did you ever get caught out that way?
I couldn't get away with it, because go back to Australia, it's still English speaking country. You know, so it was normally go back to those countries where different language, and all of a sudden the players had always a great excuse. But it's translation, boss. Translation.
Oh yeah, that old one.
Old one.
I don't know if he said that actually. Did he do it in Italian? I know he had some time, obviously, into Milan, and that's why he's playing it. I kind of get it, but when you've been paid the kind of money he's been paid, then you should be concentrating on Chelsea. Yeah, and
it's a massive game, and Tuchel made the correct decision. You know, when it becomes too much noise, the focus has got to be on the club, the team, and trying to get the best result. So Lukaku wasn't part of that. So
you're confident that Nathan Patterson will be up against Lukaku, Salah, Phil Foden?
That's brilliant.
Grealish.
Brilliant, yeah. And he will be. Look, fingers crossed, because you're now at the stage where it's dotting the I's, crossing the T's.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
So I'm sure that will all go well, which means, as you touch on, what an opportunity for the young boy. You know, he's got a lot to do in terms of his game will improve out of sight, and just by hopefully getting that exposure to those regular games. But every week, every weekend, every 3 days, we'll be waking up, playing against unbelievable players, top draw, being tested week in, week out, which is going to put him in a great position also for Scotland national team.
Yeah. He's and he's super confident, isn't he? He doesn't seem to have any fear, not an arrogance, but there's a real confidence about him and a real sense of purpose when he bombs forward, and he can defend as well. So it's going to be fascinating. The situation is, the deal's not done yet, but it's very, very close. It will be up to 16 million with all the add-ons, and Craig was telling us Rangers probably taking a bigger chunk up front just now, and maybe not so much later on, and a sell-on if he goes on elsewhere. But there's huge optimism that it's hard to say huge optimism that it will happen. All sides. So the Rangers fans that are contacting us, overall they accept it. They realise he's got to go on. They've got a strong squad, and they couldn't really keep him, and you couldn't reject that kind of money.
And I think the pleasing thing, if this goes through, which obviously looks as if it's going to be the case, is it's done early. It's done early on in the window. People are able to get on, do the business, so that then you know what else needs to be done. I think when things happen towards the latter end or the later stages of the window, and you're chasing a little bit, but good position, great for the player, great for the football club. Hopefully Everton have got themselves a wonderful player.
Craig, this is a first. We've spoken for 50 minutes during a transfer window, and we haven't mentioned the Colombian Alfredo Morelos, because it was always the narrative, wasn't it? He's maybe going to Lille. They were offered 12 to 14 million 18 months ago, and they must be wishing in some ways they'd taken it. Or is that wrong?
It was big money. No, it was big money. What I will say is that since Giovanni's come back into town, Morelos looks a lot happier player. He's back to scoring goals. I've got to say he looks in far better condition as well.
And can that happen that quickly? Mind you, I suppose it is 2 months. Yeah.
So he's he's definitely played. We've always said we know his talent, but I just really enjoyed the turnaround. It was needed. It was needed for himself. It was needed for the team. But he's doing it with a smile on his face now, Paul. So I think fair play to Giovanni, because I probably would have left him out in the initial stages, but Giovanni stuck with him. And all of a sudden, Morelos, as all good strikers do, a couple of goals, all of a sudden confidence, turnaround. Well done. You've got to say well done to him.
And you think he'll probably be staying we certainly haven't heard of any interest.
I think he'd be staying.
Yeah,
I would think he would be staying. And again, because of this potential deal with Nathan Patterson, it would also give Rangers a very, very strong position on any future transfers. There's no need to go to market and sell needlessly. It would give them a strong position.
Because look what everyone's playing for this year. The title and £40 million automatically into the Champions
Big
League,
money,
which hasn't happened for a long time. And he's an asset. You know, our colleague Barry Ferguson always says he would virtually be the first person in his team sheet for Rangers. And I kind of get that, because if you're the opposition manager and you hear there's no Morelos, you must be pleased. Or if you're a defender against him.
But I mean, I know Barry will. We played together, and I know that he would have been a player that hugely frustrated Barry as well, because, you know, he'd be wanting to look to play it off feet, bounce and get underneath him and all that. But when he wasn't able to really make that movement, I know what Barry was like. He would have been giving him an unbelievable serve. But Morelos is looking good. He's scoring goals, and most importantly, playing with a smile on his face.
So Nathan Patterson will almost certainly be going to Everton. He had the medical today, and all sides confident, hugely optimistic that this is happening. And it sounds to be a good deal for Rangers. Who can they not afford to lose? And is it Joe Aribo? Is it Ryan Kent? Because you can't lose too many players now. Because
you don't. You don't want it all happening at once. And I mean, we can all understand. And Ross Wilson, I think, has done a fantastic job through the managerial process. Having a plan in terms of players. You don't want it all happening at once. So Aribo, there's always speculation around about Aribo with his performances that have been so good. Kent at some stage will go. Well, there's no doubt about that. But I just feel as if Rangers now are probably in a strong position to keep their squad intact, potentially add, and then at the start of next season, I'm sure there'll be more business done.
We hope that I see some of the headlines today in the Record and the Sun. In fact, it's a Record exclusive from Keith Jackson. Scottish football's cash-strapped clubs have yet to receive a penny of an emergency bailout meant to protect them from the latest COVID breakdown. In lockdown. We hope that the money comes to the clubs, because Aberdeen alone said they would lose £500,000 during this break.
And it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money. And at the end of the day, I think if money has meant to have crossed desks and been paid by government, we've got to be firm and say, get it paid.
Was that you banging the?
Sorry, yes, it was my ring. Sorry,
need to get it sorted.
Yeah, we need to be stronger. We need to be stronger, because at the end of the day, like I said, I think at times football gets a bit of a bum go.
We're an easy target, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Remember that red cards to Scottish football and all that? When what's his name, Bolingoli, did that utterly stupid, outrageous thing going away. But we're going to red card Scottish football, really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're allowed 500 to games, but I mean, not saying I don't like darts or don't love darts, but 3,000 people so let's get the punters back in. Watching the football in a safe possible way. So, answering the question, bringing you back to the question, is it Aribo you'd hate to lose, for Rangers to lose him? I'm going to ask you about Celtic next. So, would it be or am I? Aribo. I wouldn't like to lose Aribo, just because he has been the mainstay in this Rangers team so far this season. Most consistent. Yeah. I see Barcelona among a number of clubs interested in signing Borussia Dortmund's Erling Haaland. You'd be hoping, well, are you hoping? Because we're going to see him here in February playing against Rangers. Or will we? Yeah, well, or will we? You're right. But there's been so much. I mean, he could pick whatever club he wants to go to in the world. Such as is his raw talent. I would say raw talent, but we've seen he's an absolute beast. He scores for fun, doesn't he? Absolute fun. It's just whether or not he wants to come to England or not, because he's been linked to Manchester United, hasn't he? He's been linked to also Chelsea. Yep. Yep. Barcelona, you name it. Brilliant. So for Rangers, we know Nathan Patterson just about on his way to sign for Everton. He is down there just now. For Celtic, the 3 Japanese players have arrived. Yep, Gucci is in the building. Hatate, the left full-back, and Maeda, the striker. 22 goals, did you say, this season? Yes. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it was 22. They need a backup for Kyogo. Yeah. Well, especially with Giakoumakis, who hasn't featured really, has he? He's had one goal where you think, okay, well now he's going to go on, and then he was injured again. So Giakoumakis hasn't featured at all. definitely need backup in that area if you want to put yourself in a position to win a title.
Who's going to come up to the Premiership for next season then, the Cinch Premiership? Arbroath and Inverness 0-0 yesterday, and that's a good result. Well, for Arbroath, isn't it? It's not a bad one for Inverness, but Queen of the South 0, Hamilton 3, so the Ackies got a win there. But looking then at the First Division, Arbroath on 38 points, 3 points ahead of Inverness, but Inverness have one game in hand. Raith Rovers on 34 points, and they drew 0-0 with Dunfermline. Big Yogi doing well there.
Yep.
And then Kilmarnock on 33, Partick Thistle on 31. Who is coming up? We're now in January, and we kind of smile. We weren't laughing about it, but they're a part-time team, Arbroath.
Dick Campbell's done an amazing job. You're talking about in Scottish football, I think he's probably done the best. The best part-time, we touch on, top of the table, championship, at the halfway mark. I find that absolutely incredible. What he's achieved.
It's fairy tale stuff, isn't it?
It really is. That's a movie. We'll make a movie. Dick Campbell, he wouldn't like that very much, would he? He'd love that.
Robert Duvall and Ali McCoy's not another one. Did you ever see that movie? Straight to video, didn't it?
Straight to video.
Oh, listen, we all love Ali. I've never seen it.
Straight to video. But I tell you what, I think Kilmarnock. And they've not announced anything, I think, at the moment in terms of new manager coming in. But they're in a decent position, only 5 points with a game in hand of Arbroath at the moment. If they get the right manager, the player roster's good. I think that they could be the ones that come up.
That's a good job for somebody, isn't it? Paul Hartley's been mentioned for it, but we will this week bring you right up to date. I think there will be an appointment very soon. There'd have to be, because to take the manager out, that was over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Tommy Wright's gone. League One. A good win for Airdrie at Dumbarton, 1-0. Montrose winning 2-0 at East Fife. And Cove Rangers, is anyone going to catch them? They had a 1-goal victory, late goal McAllister at Peterhead. So Cove are on 43 points, Montrose on 38, Airdrie on 35, and Queen's Park, when they've got 2 games in hand, they're on 27. And of course they parted company with the manager just the other day. That's a good job for somebody, isn't it, Queen's Park?
I think that's a top club with a massive future. Everything that they're looking to do there, for me, is unbelievably professional. Any young aspiring manager that potentially gets the opportunity at Queen's Park, I think it's a great job, because I think the next 3 to 4 years they're a team I expect to see in the Premiership.
Dundee United would love to be staying in the Premiership, and there didn't look to be any doubt about it, but they've had a tough couple of weeks. But Dundee, that's why they've added Tony Watt. They need goals.
What?
Very good.
No, but look, the thing is, Tony Watt, pre-contract, which has been reported, look, they definitely want to try and do business. I think before then, Dundee United have been very good this season. They have gone on a little bit of a dip at the moment, so they need goals. Tony Watt would be a big part of that. Be a huge loss to Motherwell as well, because I think the partnership between him and Van Veen has been a very strong one.
Have you made any New Year's resolutions, Greg Moore?
No, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions.
Every day. It's another day, and enjoy the day.
Attack every day, make it a winner.
Yep. Well, you helped it today. I saw you you're on Sky, aren't you, doing Looking Forward to This Year?
Poorly, the halftime review.
No, it's halftime. Well, we heard you with Rob last week, so overall Rangers 6 points clear, and you expect Rangers to lift the title come April, May.
Look, I still think that Rangers are the favourites. I do believe it will be a title race. Very interesting to see how the Celtic new recruits hit the ground. But I think Rangers will still win the league.
And GVB, you played alongside him, has made an impressive start. I see Stephen Gerrard's Villa lost yesterday, and that's the first time they've lost out with Man City and Liverpool.
And he was disappointed with the goals that he conceded. You see his interview after it, extremely disappointed. But look, that's the challenge, more so down there, because Aston Villa, yes, great club. You're not expected to win every game. How you deal with that, how you handle that. But he was disappointed with the goals that he lost.
That's the hour has come and gone. Craig, thanks for joining us. Will you come back during the week later on and do it again?
Can't wait.
Rob's back here tomorrow night at 5.
The Go Radio Football Show with thetaxicentre.com. Delivering cars to taxi drivers in Scotland for over 20 years.
Let's go!
Where do taxi drivers go when they need to buy a taxi? Well, the Taxi Centre have supplied cars to the trade for over 20 years, and they stock a huge range of motors from the world's leading manufacturers: Skoda, Kia, Toyota, Mercedes, Nissan, Ford, Hyundai, you name it. They've got saloons, MPVs, estates, minibuses, prestige cars, the lot, all under one roof, ready for immediate collection or free delivery anywhere on the mainland UK. With taxi trade exclusive discounts, flexible finance options and no hidden fees. They even throw in registration and 12 months road tax. So if you're a taxi driver who needs a new or used taxi, where would you go? TheTaxiCentre.com. Trade only.